Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel or becoming a patron at patreon.com/Afterlife Topics.
Hello everybody, welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. Still my very unprofessional setup of doing videos on my bed. Day number 2 of the Sam Levitt's desk crisis. I still don't have a proper desk in my new place. I won't get into that. Today's topic is, do our loved ones in spirit get upset or distressed if we go through difficulties such as illness, or do bad things here on Earth, or do they see the bigger picture? It's a thread by one Michelle Jane on the Afterlife Topics Facebook group. However, this video, I am going to address this, and I think that question will be answered to the best of my knowledge on this video. I'm going to go into a bigger topic. It concerns spirit ideology versus spirit reality. Why this is always one of the biggest factors in learning about the afterlife, the other side, communication with spirit, and why it's so important to keep these distinctions in mind. And this thread really brought to light how valuable this topic is. So hopefully this is going to be useful to you guys. Before we begin, as always, you're watching Afterlife Topics Metaphysics, where we discuss the ramifications of where we go in the great beyond. If you like these types of subjects, don't forget to go down and hit that subscribe button, or maybe consider becoming a patron over at my Patreon, where I teach patrons at the $30 level how to astral project, get in touch with the other side, and build your relationship with the beyond. So consider that if you want to support this channel, this podcast, and the work that we do around here. Okay, so to continue, let's take a look at this thread topic. So I made a quick post in before the rest, and I still think that I stand by what I wrote, which is that everything is as variable as the individual is. We tend to clump people on that side into this one homogeneous mass of what does spirit think. But that's as futile as asking what does humanity think. So we can't say, do spirits get upset or are spirits distressed? It would be like asking, do your family members ever become upset? Do random people become upset? Well, generally the answer is yes. It's all variable depending on an individual's place in life, their motivations, ideals, attachments, loved ones, interests. Everything is variable. That's what makes life so great. If it wasn't that way, then we'd all be conformists, and we'd all be the same. And if that were the case, well, we'd be an ant colony, wouldn't we? We wouldn't be rich, vibrant human beings. So I always find it a little bit curious when we speak of the other side, as if suddenly we go from being rich, vibrant human beings to becoming an ant colony. But I understand the greater issue is, are my loved ones upset on that side? Or are they just permanently happy all the time? A lot of people, they want the latter. They don't want the idea that, you have a loved one here who was not in the best of spirits, the best moods, and had some issues to work out, and we don't like the idea that they may be in a similar situation on that side. And to that I say, it is their own journey that they have to undertake. And there isn't any evidence in my experiences to suggest that someone's psychology will change any more than it would naturally upon waking up in a different dimension, a different universe, realizing that the world was not as it seemed, waking up out of the matrix, so to speak, and appearing on that side into what could be potentially be a much happier existence. I think that helps a lot of people, but not everybody. People have regrets, people have issues, and while they don't grieve for us the same way, they see us when we sleep and we leave our bodies and we go to that side. They can be with us and they can visit with us. They grieve for the fact that we down here, when we have amnesia, we don't remember being with them, and then we are upset, we are grieving, we are sad. It breaks their hearts maybe just as much as it does us, because they can't stand to see us upset because they love us. just as it would be in any relationship. And it would be strange to take that away, because that would mean that they are something less than or other than human souls. To say that they don't experience negative emotions, that would mean that they are something other than what they really are. So what do we come down to? Spirit ideology versus a spirit fact. Well, ideologies that crop up and sprout like little bushels in the spiritualist New Age communities sometimes will argue things like everyone is pure light, love, orbs of light floating around, bliss and happiness, and negative emotions do not exist, blah, blah, blah. And these ideologies are quite persistent. But yet there's this chasm between what an ideology says about an afterlife and what people actually experience. And nowhere on the group have I seen a better example of this than this thread. So I'm going to go over a few of the answers, and I know a lot of you clever watchers of this channel, fans of the podcast, you'll be able to figure out what the trend is that I noticed. So play along with me here. So it begins with Henry puts out, I think, a really great quote by Silver Birch, by Maurice Barbanel, talking about the nature of what it's like to cross over. Really good info. That one had a well-deserved 22 likes. We have a next afterlife topic, sir, saying, when my son passed, a medium told me he was upset and crying. It broke my heart. I hope he's at peace now. I'm sure he is, but that's a tough situation to be in. And again, it's not always peaches and roses. We have our own emotional hang-ups and things we have to go through in life. It's part of life. Then right afterwards, we get a curious response. They don't get upset. There's no elaboration on this, just matter of fact. And I say, that's kind of creepy. What do you mean you don't get upset? Nothing makes you upset? What are you? If you don't feel upset about things, then are you still even a human? I would never want my ability to be upset about something taken away from me. Again, that's the ant colony stuff. So it's kind of strange with no elaboration. They don't get upset. And this individual didn't expand that argument. Like, what's the source? Where are you getting this information? Just stating it matter-of-factly. Sorry, but this seems like ideology to me. We have a response to her saying, another individual named Amy says, they do get upset. When you go to the other side, you're not void of emotion. Very good point. No response. So next we have a response by an individual named Jill Bova. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Sure, kind of a platitude at this point, but yeah, I get you. That spiritual being that we are is a part of the all-God source. Okay, sure. Is, always has been, it is, and it always will be. I agree. Individuality, your essence, goes much deeper than what you think it is. It's it's a unique creation of the universe. So those that we have discarded. So let me back up. I think the grammar was a bit funky on this sentence. When we have discarded our human body, they no longer feel what we humans feel anymore. Instead of an ego, it's now pure love. That's my take, and that's what all the masters have said in their own words. What masters? Who are you talking about? Why should somebody be my master? I can speak to the other side, and I can get information from the horse's mouth. Is it the horse's mouth? The lion's mouth? I don't know. I'm mixing up my analogies, but point is, I can directly speak to them if I wanted to, if I have proper experience, and learn what their lives are like. So can really good mediums, and so can a lot of other people, and you can. All this information gets collaborated together. So why should I trust what a master says? And what master? You mean like Sadhguru on YouTube? It's the same guy who says that astral projection is impossible unless you're Hindu. That guy? Okay, so I respond that I definitely respect your point of view, but in my view, it's wrong. Because we don't become automatons. We're not exalted, all-knowing entities when we die. There's been no evidence of this. There's been no reports of this, except that, some people have experiences with source consciousness or NDEs, but spirit communication, it's never shown evidence of this. And this thread continues. I'm going to move onward. This individual, I think, left the group after I made that response, so didn't vibe well with them. And we have, of course, Kim LeCabri, a longtime patron or supporter of the channel. And she talks about how her husband has been pissed off about stuff all the time on the other side and just wants to punch a bunch of people in the face. Sometimes he gets pissed off at people hassling her. And so forth. So he's over there and has a lot of emotion, a lot of temper. And then once again, look at this. Somebody responds and says, "No, they don't. Everything is as it should be, and they know this." Well, again, it's like a matter-of-fact statement, just saying no, but there's no elaboration. Who's your source? What are you talking about exactly? So this individual does clarify and says that as it should be doesn't imply that they're perfect, but from that higher vantage, everything kind of makes sense. Okay, I get that. But still, it doesn't mean we can stay a sweeping generalization that spirit side are impossible of getting upset about things. Okay, an individual named Teresa talks about how I really couldn't figure this one out, but all the respect to Teresa's opinion about quadrants and urns in the afterlife. I don't quite understand this, but let's keep moving along. A girl named Kristen states, "My late husband told the medium, please help her. She gets sad a lot. Was profusely apologizing. So he may feel emotions. Shouldn't even be a question, Kristen. You shouldn't be wondering and worried about whether or not he feels emotions, because why wouldn't he? And it makes me sad that you have to wonder about that, because clearly there's been goofball mediums and goofball New Agers who have tried to convince you otherwise, that they don't feel emotion anymore. It's a very strange belief that some people have, and that they try to push it on people. They push it on people who are grieving so they can believe those ideas. It's almost like some people, I could probably find some way, what's that meme of the person with the conspiracy theories connecting all the lines and dots and things on the chalkboard, right? You guys know the meme I'm talking about. I could probably connect like people who are really into like non-individualism and the destruction of emotions to something like Marxism, for example, or philosophies that are focused on the individual being kind of reduced in favor of the collective, right? So I don't know if there maybe is a relationship to that. Don't really know, but there must be some reason why those ideas get pushed out so much. Okay, next person says, I would say both. They know we will be okay, but they also feel our current situation and want to help us. Sure. Okay, next response, no. Again, what's the pattern here? A lady named Honey just says no. And I said, well, I appreciate the Spartan language in its true sense. Some elaboration might help. And she's like, give me a reason why they would get upset. And I think I'm disconnected from the internet. If I can, I'll just turn it back on real quick so I can view the rest of the replies. I do it so that I don't get bugged by Facebook messages if I'm in the middle of doing a video. And let's see what we have here. She says, they understand what we are going through. They send love. They give us time to grieve. But getting upset is something we in the physical do, not spirit. Again, no source. It's not connected to an experience. No one said that they had an experience where spirit told them that. No one is saying that they felt this themselves. It's just somebody stating this matter-of-factly. Again, no source. And I basically talk about, there is no evidence of this. I've been studying the communications for many years, and there's just so many reports of upset spirits, quote, angry ghosts. I should say resentful, people who feel resentment, people who feel guilt on that side. And when people on this side help those people and help them get over some of those issues, that's been one of the oldest things people have reported in the annals of spiritualism, right? So very strange to just make these statements matter-of-factly. And again, like everyone else who has made this comment, no. Just that's it, just no. Where are these ideas coming from? Because nobody seems to want to reveal how they came to these conclusions. So let's keep looking. Let me flip my internet back off again just before I get annoying messages and pings. Joanne says, through a medium, my father was very upset, saying I had to go to the doctor about my stomach, which at the time wasn't causing me much trouble. Just a little bit of heartburn, but it turned out I had a stomach ulcer and a hernia. So she's saying her father was on the other side upset because he wanted her to go to the doctor. So that would mean by definition he was upset about something, felt those emotions, was not an ant in an ant colony. Roy says they feel our emotions and help us heal. Yes, they also can have their own emotions too. Now, of course, we have Alice, one of our super patrons, a great supporter of this channel, my friend Alice. She says, my daughter Teresa passed in 2009, and I was raising her youngest daughter, Christina. I know Teresa was keeping a close eye on Christina and at first communicated through dreams with her daughter. Then she made a few appearances over the years as Christina got older, including one where she saved Christina when she was shot by a crazy guy. So they're on the other side, engaged in our lives, worried about us. If they didn't have emotions like feeling upset, feeling concerned, then they wouldn't actually be engaged in our life. So what these people are saying, if it were true, they'd be so detached, they wouldn't have anything to do with us. They'd just be little loving orbs of light floating around, and they wouldn't be their human selves at all. But again and again, that's not what we're seeing. Again, another story of someone from the other side, like forcefully coercing somebody almost to go to see a doctor when they had to see a doctor. We have Debbie Booth who's been on the show. She says, yes, they do get upset and they cry and get angry. I've heard my late husband cry and shout at people, including me. Best of all, he still cracks a good joke and laughs. Of course they do. You are what you are in the astral plane. You still have a body even. So, again, people with direct connections, direct experiences, having a very contrasting point of view to the people who seem to be coming at this ideologically. Michelle Matthews, longtime supporter of the Facebook group, she says, my husband Pete was extremely upset when he passed because he passed from malpractice. A couple of years ago, I was attacked and bullied by a neighbor, and Pete was absolutely furious. Well, they should be, because sometimes when you love somebody, it can express as grief, it expresses as anger, because it's righteous anger, or it's anger against someone who's done someone else wrong, or it's anger that's coming from a loving place because we want to help somebody. I remember before my father passed away, I was so angry at him because of something he was doing. He wasn't taking care of himself, pulling himself together. I yelled at him really badly, and then the next time I spoke to him on the phone was the morning he passed away, and we made up and we had a nice long conversation together, and then that evening he passed away suddenly. And I really regret that I had been angry at him before, but I think he realized I was coming from a place of love, and that's just how we are sometimes. So we want to go around lobotomized. We want to go around unable to experience the whole human spectrum. I think they made a film about that. It was called Pleasantville. Let's see. So let's keep looking. So there's a lot more of the same stuff here. Anne says, yes, they do. I've heard firsthand through communication, and they will help in any way they're allowed to. Jane Louise Kramer has a good explanation, saying, yeah, they feel emotions, but sometimes they're in a higher plane where everything is just much happier, more beautiful, more serene, so they might not be as so tuned into like the negative thoughts and feelings and issues like we have here. And I totally get that. That's a better explanation about maybe why some people think they don't have negative feelings. It's kind of like if you go to a party and everyone's having a great time, you think, well, negative feelings don't exist here. But it doesn't mean those people are incapable of having negative feelings, of being upset or having emotions. It's just that you catch them at a time when they're really happy. Okay, let's keep looking. Debbie says, I've had messages where my mom is angry at what I'm going through. Kenda, the EVP practitioner, says, yes, they do become alarmed when they see that a family member's health is compromised. And whenever there's a health crisis or anything, they get in there and they express that they are upset. Let's see, more similar stories. So we can keep going, and then here we go again. Do we notice a trend here? Someone named Patrick Gnostico says, not at all. Just matter of fact, no. No source, no personal story, no evidence. It's not evidence-based reasoning. Evidence-based reasoning is like, well, I had this experience and this happened to me, and then it's happened to my friend, and then these people, and then the literature says this. If you put all this together, I think we can say that there's a good idea that blah, blah, blah. It's called evidence-based reasoning or critical thinking. Non-critical thinking is no, yes, no, it is the way I say it is, right? A little bit strange. Okay, here we go again. This is one that really bugged me. Someone says, I believe when we are in spirit form, we no longer have any use or reason to concern ourselves with materialistic things or human flesh or human emotions. Again, people who want us to become an ant colony. Maybe these are souls who are just, God bless them, very kind of Marxist-minded people, and people who care about the collective more than the individual. We need to have a balance of those in society, I understand. I'm not trying to get political. I'm just talking about the psychological frameworks people use. But some people are so toward the collective that they actually think it's a weakness to have individuality. It's a weakness to have emotion. It's a weakness to stand apart from the crowd. That to me is a very strange, imbalanced way of looking at life, but that's just my opinion. Maybe it is balanced. I don't know. Maybe that's not what this person is saying at all, but it's just kind of what screams out at me, like we're projecting our idealized society into the hereafter. So they say, I believe we cross over to a much higher plane. What use would we have with anything materialistic? Or thoughts on the human level. When we leave here, I believe we leave all of that behind and move on. And I respond, but why does anything related to God-given emotion and feelings get lumped in as materialistic? Literally what this poster is doing is saying having emotions, having thoughts and concerns is materialistic. It's like, this is the thing that makes us non-materialistic. Love, concern, being upset or not upset, caring about other people. Like those are the non-materialistic virtues of life. Materialism is frickin', screwing somebody over for $30. Non-materialism is the emotional, energy-based experiences that we have. And this person is literally like turning this upside down and saying that's a materialistic concept. And non-materialism and spirituality becoming an ant colony. So we have Barbara Pizzo responding to this, and pretty much again inserting common sense, logic, and experience into the debate. And just like so many of these other posters, there's no response after this. They came, they said their piece, they didn't cite anything, they didn't cite experience, preaching in an ideological way, which by the way is against the rules on the group, but I let it slide. Technically, you shouldn't be saying this is the way it is, everybody must conform. You should be, when you're posting in the community, framing things conversationally, like, yeah, I had an experience and it kind of happened like this, and what do you think? If you, even on the other side of the spectrum, if you say yes, they experience emotions and you're all wrong, or even that's not necessarily a polite way to debate a subject, it's better to say, I get your point of view, but in my experience, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of these posters, what are they doing? They're actually proselytizing. So they just make a post and they don't cite it, they don't put in any evidence, and they don't recognize anyone else's opinion. They say this is the way it is, which just feels to me like there's somebody on a pulpit somewhere, some guru, somebody behind the scenes that they're listening to, watching, reading. It could be one of these YouTube guys or girls. It could be some of these authors who are dictating to people the way it is, and they're projecting their idea of this idealized afterlife where we become a giant ant colony. And people absorb the info, and then they, send it back out. It's how these ideas spread. And hopefully my group is adding just a little bit of resistance, which I think is always healthy. This is a little bit speculative stuff. We have Teresa mentioning how she heard Teresa Larrabee mentioning that she heard her late sister-in-law's voice telepathically, reassuring her things are going to be okay. She's 100% sure that their guides and ancestors and spirits are here for us, but they can be motivated by distress. So they feel distressed about something that we're doing wrong, and then they come down and help us. And then finally, there's the end, the finals post, and this is what actually inspired me to make this video, was William Murray's analysis of the thread, which is also my analysis. It's like bingo. Murray says, the comments in this post are a perfect example of how one can discern spiritual ideology from evidence and fact. The evidence and fact side is represented by those who have first-hand experience of deceased people who are upset and distressed. All the stories we just glanced at. They know that at least some of the deceased have these feelings. The spiritual ideology side insists that no deceased people experience being upset or distressed, as if they know what every being in the afterlife is capable of feeling, right? Thus, because this evidence contradicts their ideology, they must dismiss the evidence as being false or mistaken. Or, as we've seen in some of the posts on this thread, people will come in and then they'll proselytize about that, and then once I give a little bit of pushback or somebody else gives some pushback, they either leave the group or they don't respond at all. They just go quiet. Some reason I'm picturing them like, on their computer, just like, just seething because people were disagreeing. Because usually, you can respond back in a conversational manner if it's just a conversational topic. Like, oh, okay, I get that point of view, but blah blah blah. Like, that's usually how friendly conversation goes. When someone says something in a very strong way and then refuses to respond again or just leaves the group, that makes me think that this person was really upset and really angry about other people thinking a different way. So where do these ideologies come from? Well, I think that we need to be mindful we don't fall into ideologies. Even with this stuff, we don't want to create a sacred cow where you can't question certain things. And I get it that on an emotional level, we want to believe that our loved ones are on the other side and they're happy as clams digging into sand. They have no issues, no concerns. They're pure love and bliss and light. They're made of light. They're a little dodecahedron floating through space, emitting rays of sunshine. And I get that. There's a desire to want the best for our loved ones, but we also have to recognize that all the experiences, all the spirit communication experiences that I could possibly dig up seems to show human psychology remaining the same, and people taking with them the spectrum of human emotion. And maybe think about, is that necessarily a bad thing? Is it a bad thing if we pass away and we're the same people? Because I think for most of us, we want our loved ones to still be the same, to be progressing on their own level, not to get lobotomized once they get to that side and be completely different. But it doesn't matter what we think, it doesn't matter what we feel, it doesn't matter what we want. What matters is objectivity. So What do people actually report? What do people actually experience? Can we extrapolate it from there? Because if it was the opposite, if all the reports and all the experiences were basically that we pass away, we become this collective hive mind. If we join the great communist utopia in the sky, or whatever it might be, then that's what I would be telling you guys, and that's what I would be suggesting to people on the thread, and that's what I'd be talking about on this channel, because I will always go where the facts are seemingly taking us. I'm not going to prejudice it or make it act in a prejudicial way and just report what I want to be true. And thank God what these folks are saying doesn't seem to be aligned to the facts that I can gather. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. For more about the afterlife, you can pick up books like The Afterlife and Beyond, Understanding Life After Death, or Awakened by Death. These are all books I've written or co-written, and they're on Amazon. And with that being said, this is Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. You can join these discussions at Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics on Facebook. Bring up any topic that comes to your mind, and maybe I'll embarrass you and make a video about it on YouTube as well. Who knows? Alright, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.